The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast. The Darlington Raceway, a NASCAR staple that has been on the schedule since its very inception in the 1940s. Since its moment of depression in the mid-2000s, where it was nearly taken off of the schedule, it has been resurgent and brought back to a very important and very looked forward to race on the NASCAR schedule, both in virtual terms and in the real world. Well, tonight, the 100% Cup Series with their Division II campaign is going to take 200 miles here on the Eggshake Oval in South Carolina. We are happy to give you the coverage of the event. Of course, myself, Corey Silva, and Jeffrey Souza in the booth here after a week off due to some scheduling conflicts, ready and raring to give you guys some coverage here of the next-gen cars on one of the, if not the toughest oval on the NASCAR circuit. Jeffrey, you're the driver. You know a lot more about going around this place than I do in current terms. What are we looking for here tonight?
And like you said, it's a tough track. You know, it's the track too tough to tame. That's what they call it. And with both these set of turns being completely different, 1 and 2, you know, high speed, drive it in there on the bottom really hard, drift up the track, cut hard off to turn 2, and then you drive down to turn 3 and you're slowing down 20-30 mile per hour compared to what you do in turn 1 and 2. So we're gonna have to wait and see tonight who can keep that car off the wall and get around here the fastest, and if they do, they will be the winner.
Indeed, that is the case here. There's a couple things to go over in our opening here as qualifying currently on the racetrack right now. We'll see who will be on the top of the pylon here today. Looks like we have about 25. I didn't get a full head count, but I'm going to look at maybe 25-ish probably here at Darlington here on the evening. We'll see Wayne Grassy currently on the top of the board, but we'll see if that does sustain. But our point standings here after 11 races, after last week's race at Kansas, Adam Benefiel up by 36 over Jedi Jason Taylor, Tanner Marty, Wayne Grassy, and Kyle Ammon in the top 5. We did have Tanner Marty leading this for a while, but I think finally with Benefiel being on a hot streak in the league, has managed to take over. Gitter, who has been very competitive. Bruno Mello, a latecomer, but has shown some serious speed. DL Lemon, John Delaney, who's very part-time, and Derek Heitman, who has turned part-time, rounding out our top 10 in points.
Yeah, like you said, we look at these point standings in a way of sometimes it's who's the full-time driver and who isn't. Right now, obviously, we know Adam out here working his hardest every week, but not always racing on Friday nights. But like you said, that hot streak, couple wins in a row in the last couple of races have put him up top by almost about half a race's length worth of points.
Yeah, well, one thing we do want to do, you know, this is Throwback Day. You'll see some throwback paint schemes amongst the guys on track, but one thing I like to do is this isn't going to be full throwback broadcast, but just something kind of fun. If you watch the old NBC NASCAR broadcast in the early 2000s, you'll remember Betty Parsons taking you a trip around these racetracks in the EA Sports NASCAR title. So just for some fun, let's go have BP take us a lap around the Darlington Raceway.
Let's go inside EA Sports Thunder Motion. Wally talked about it. Here's how you make a pass at Darlington. Inside our TNT Pontiac. We pull up alongside Jeff Gordon as we come off the corner. We have position on him. When we get down to turn 1, Gordon backs off. I take the TNT car down the corner. He follows me. Now, here's what not to do. Don't go in the corner side by side, because that is about always the end result. And we talk about tires. I'm out here on worn tires. Wally, been out here 50 or 60 laps. I need some tires.
EP, watch out. I got fresh tires, and I'm going to be about 2 seconds a lap quicker than you, so see you later. You better get in, or I'm going to leave you. Tires, tire management, whoever plays the game best may hold the trophy at the end of the day here in Darlington.
Just had some banter with Jeff as that clip did play about how that game, I mean, he still play it to this day. I grew up with that game. Definitely some good times.
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, one of those games that when people talk about the Thunder series, 03, 04, are really the high points of that series. And I know a lot of people want to get back to that. And for some people, iRacing is the closest they can get to it, especially with the new AI system they've been working on. It's definitely getting better for the console players if they want to move over here to iRacing, but looks like qualifying's just running out, and we're going to get ready to go through the grid here in a moment.
Yep, and I do at the very least, in the name of throwbacks, we have the ESPN Speed World starting lineup here today for the 100% Cup Series at the Darlington Raceway. Starting on the front row here today, Pat Gitter in that number 28 car. I mean, he's almost like front row Joe. I mean, pole position Pat, there we go. He's always up front in these races. I just came up with that one on the fly. John Delaney outside of the front row, Wayne Grassi in third, Bruno Mello, the Brazilian, rolling off in the fourth spot. Fifth finds Ed Foster. Hopefully he doesn't mind Ed. Nick Stein, the broadcaster for Saturdays, in the car in sixth. Dave Fuge, you'll see him on Mondays here on PTR TV. He's in seventh with Tanner Marty, another Monday driver on PTR TV, in eighth. Rounding out our top 10, Darren Mullins and Clifton Cockrell.
Yeah, in the 11th position, we got another newer driver to the series, Corey Crook, in the 60th, and then Matt Desiani to his outside in 12th. Corey Harville has been with us for a couple weeks now in 13th with Jason Taylor up there in 14th. Mark Pageant, normal on Saturday nights, will start 15th with Nicholas Presley to his outside in 16th. Cody Cully in the 112 in 17th with Dalton Mobley in the 18th position. And then Thomas O'Hare in 19th with Lucas Abreu in 20th.
And for some reason, it just skipped 20 because 20th is omitted from the planet. So we're going to jump to 22nd with Adam Benefiel, he likes to do his last to first or as close to it as he can achieve, with Sean O'Brien to his outside. DL Lemon, the Bitcoin boy, in 24th with Charles Eaton in 25th. DeMaris Hickenbottom, league admin, in 26th with Kevin Steele from the Pennsylvania native in 27th. And then rounding out our grid here today is Dan Llewellyn and Jared Bundy. So I estimated 25 at quick glance. Wasn't too far off, as we are at 29 or 8, I guess, since T20 just dropped off the face of the earth. I know, you know how like some buildings, they'll say they don't have a 13th floor because of superstition. Well, I mean, there still is 13 floors. It's just kind of a mental thing, kind of the same thing with our grid here today.
Yeah, and like you said, you know, we're going to see a couple cars out here tonight that are definitely throwbacks, and, you know, I love
right here.
That.
We got Mike Skinner on the front row here with Gitter.
Yeah, and that's a nice looking car right there. Nice to see Lowe's back on a car. You know, I thought one of these years they would put him on there just to have the throwback nuts of it, but I guess not. And then you got a Mark Martin car right there, John Delaney. He looks really good in that Sparco Chevrolet on the outside.
For some reason that opened on my right screen when it never does, so sorry about that little faux pas right there. Throwback to when I was a rookie broadcaster. I guess Mark Martin and Mike Skinner on the front row. Well, I guess that means Gitter's not going to win this race because Skinner never found himself in victory lane, so a little roast there, but we'll hopefully see if that does or does not come into fruition here. But the pace car in the pit road, the safety of pit road here at Darlington, and we'll see what kind of etiquette will happen. Who's going to get the Darlington stripe? Who's going to get the Darlington trophy? Let's find out together. Pace car is in, waiting for Barney to wave the flag. He does exactly that, and let's drive off here into turn number 1.
Hop into turn 1, Gitter easily gonna clear everyone else for the lead. We got one car sideways, but looks like We got a
That's
couple
Lemon
cars.
and Llewellyn wrecking at the back of the field, but that keeps us under green flag conditions as we battle down the back straightaway. Huge gap for Gitter. And then Wayne Grassy, second spot here, manages to get by John Delaney here. Again, Darlington etiquette, we didn't get to talk about it, Jeffrey, but very, very important. Certain parts of this track that when it's early in the race, you don't want to go side by side into one. You don't want to exit two side by side. And the guys that can work each other's, be on each other's good side there will avoid issues.
Yeah, and like you said, early on in this race, you're going to cut people brakes. You're going to lift going into one. You're going to lift going into turn 3 and just kind of give up the spots. But once we get deeper into this race, you're not going to want to give up that spot in turn 1. You're going to want to drive in there side by side, and sometimes it's going to work and sometimes it won't.
But when it doesn't, well, that's when somebody has a Darlington stripe and some upset people. Big wiggle there from Wayne Grassy at the bottom of the shot there. Delaney going to try that outside lane, which is 3 and 4. You really want to be right on that fence, and it just kind of pushes the boundaries of a driver. Jeff Wood, you're going on that outside lane. You know that you need to use every last bit that Darlington offers you, but at the same time, you kind of want to save the right side of that car for maybe lap 140 as opposed to lap 4.
Yeah, I was running laps earlier this week in preparation for this weekend's races, and the guy I was running laps with, Brandon Pierce from Saturday night, on my team, and he was getting probably a tenth or two more out of the car than I was, and I'm just sitting there going, I want to be this guy that's going to be there at the end and not, ride that right side off it. So if you can put it up there on the fence, which I know a lot of these guys that are really good drivers can, and not hit it, good on you. I know I'm not one of those people, so I try to keep it off the wall as much as I can, because it's very easy to overstep that cushion at a track like this.
Yeah, I actually took to the driver's seat this past week in a league here at the truck vehicle event and finished second. And largely it's just because you find your rhythm, you find where that boundary is. How hard can I drive? For me, I use those seams to know where to push it. I actually use that seam, particularly in 3 and 4, as we'll see here as they do get to that point. I used that seam right up against the wall. I pretended that seam was the wall. So that way, if I screwed up, I still gave myself a foot or two of leeway. It actually worked quite well for me.
Yeah, one thing I know when I was working on the car earlier this week was the biggest place I think that people have issues here, I know I do myself, is coming off turn 2 there, getting that good arc off the corner. I'll sometimes be a little too hesitant in the middle of the turn, and when you start turning off the wall, you have two things. You either have to lift way out of the throttle, or you try to ride off the corner, and most of those times when you do ride off the corner, you end up, right side and the outside wall, and either way, you're kind of in a bad spot, but, you'd rather lift and see live to see another day, or another lap, at least in this case.
Exactly the case there is Jeff Burton, a.k.a. Darren Mullins. That is the 2000 ride, because I don't think he had X-Side in 2001, so throwback there. Very nice. I actually used to love that car in real life, and I hated Ford, and I didn't like Jeff Burton, because in that era, he took some spotlight away from my boy Jeff Gordon. So, love-hate relationship, but a nice livery there as he gets himself into the top 10. Does Darren Mullins, and other stuff going on track right now. We have Nick Stein, who is all over the back bumper of, is that Cale Yarborough? I'm embarrassed to say that I don't remember. I want to say Cale Yarborough in the Hardy's machine.
Yeah, and one thing we're seeing here, you're talking about what are we seeing on track. I think the biggest thing we're seeing right now is this track temp, 105, I think, to start the race tonight. And you're seeing people coming off turn 2 and turn 4, and they are fishtailing the rear end of that car already. And from experience, if you're already fishtailing on lap 10, I don't think you're going to have a great time by lap 20, 25 to 30. I think you're going to be screaming that right rear tire off.
Yeah, John Delaney, and smooth as a baby's bottom there off the corner, didn't have any wiggling whatsoever, but that is very much what you expect from him, being a champion in D1, and You know, him in D2 is very much dependent on whether or not he's having fun. And the last race he said he had fun at was Bristol, and this is another driver's track, so do you think Delaney's going to have fun enough for 147 circuits around here?
Yeah, you know, before John moved over to Lockdown Racing, where he is now, I remember when he was on the team I was on, watching him run laps here and going, how are you doing that? How are you putting it that close to the wall? How are you being that smooth on throttle? And I know there was one, it was probably 2 years ago now, that he won the Southern 500 race in 100%. And I jumped in about halfway through that race and watched the rest of it, and he just put a whooping on the field. And to see how smooth he is as a driver and how consistent he is and how he's able to save these tires at a track like this where the grip level is so low, it really puts into perspective about how hard these guys are having to work every lap and be perfect on that steering wheel input.
On board with Dalton Mobley here, and you can even see the different approaches there. He's behind Clifton Cockrell and Nick Pressey there, and while they were both on the fence, he ran about a lane lower through 1 and 2, and now he took the opportunity to get by. That is Cockrell for the 15th spot, but up front, that is some trouble with the 35 of Ed Foster, as well as Tanner Marty. So we will have to queue up the replay and sort through some odds and ends here of what happened.
Yeah, so you got Tanner there on the inside and that Hardy's Mobile, 35 on the outside, and just they met in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, that's about as 50-50 as I think it'll get in terms of iRacing calls right there. I mean, could the 35 have run a little bit higher? Yes, but could Tanner have stayed down? Yes, so just kind of call it the old racing deal on a tight track.
Yeah, that's, like we said, that's one of those things that these guys are running so close to each other that if you come off the wall a little bit more than the other person thinks you're going to, you know, contact is going to be inevitable, and obviously right there, both of them getting some decent damage out of it.
Important to note our race details here. 4 sets of tires in the pits with stages at 45 and 90. Of course, the one fast repair, which some may already be having to utilize. But with that set of tires in the pits, I mean, of course, Ed Foster is going to come in because he was in the wreck. Nick Pressey coming down the BK car. I am trying to sort through who the BK car is here.
I think that's Harville in the 94. Or not, I know it's the 94, I think.
And that is Pressey. It would be Pressey.
Presley, yes.
Yeah. Pressey, he's not Elvis. Omit the L. You like
he might be.
You like putting letters into words, but we will omit his Elvis status, at least as of yet. Maybe he'll earn it later. But let's just take a moment to just admire the throwbacks here. So we got Mike Skinner. We got Mark Martin, circa 1997. Not really Steve Park, but whatever, close enough. Nothing. Mark Martin, circa 2000, maybe, sort of.
Around that time.
Nothing. Alan Kawicki, gotta love that one. Nothing. Jeff Burton, already talked about him. Is
Dale Senior's final ride right there, his final win back at Talladega.
Did that have a gray?
That's a nice car.
Did it have a gray base on that? I always thought it was white, but maybe I just don't pay attention to 25 years ago with that much detail, I guess.
It's possible.
Then what do we got there?
We got a Bryson Hickenbottom sighting.
I don't talk about that. I think, is that a Jeff Gordon drive to end hunger on Dalton Mobley there as we're on one to go? I think that's a drive to end hunger base on that.
Yes.
So we'll scope out the remainder of the field later. But again, most everybody, only 3 drivers took to the pits. That was Foster, Pressey, and Marty. Marty was in the pits for 8.2 seconds, so you can infer whether that was damage or just fuel only. And we'll have 28 laps to the stage. Whatever 45 minus 17 is, 28 sounds like a good estimate there, the old mental calculator. But Gitter choosing the outside lane here. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets the jump, good move. If he doesn't get the jump, well, hopefully Delaney's nice to him, but let's see what happens here.
Yep, no restart zones technically in place tonight, so we get to the front stretch here. Gitter on the throttle and easily going to clear Delaney again. Delaney also going to get clear in top 4 or 5 here, single file into turn number 1.
Indeed, Delaney sails it on in there, about 3.5 tenths back. Bruno Mello takes the 3rd spot quite handily there. Wayne Grassi drops back to 4th. We're sorting through some spots there at the back end of the field here, and again, racing to the stage. You'll see a lot of these drivers battling here tomorrow night, just looking for that experience, looking to find those boundaries of where is the air going to be? Can I use the cushion against the wall to help me stay off of it? How's the aero push? How's the tires going to fall off? So many things that you can learn here, which is why we see a lot of these Saturday regulars here, as 92 a Harville will get by Cockrell there. Then goes Adam Benefield. Remember, he started in the early 20s, up to 16th, going for 15th right now.
Yeah, and you know, these restarts at a track like this where it is just so tough to pass are really crucial for a lot of these drivers like a Benefield that started towards the rear, obviously by choice for him, but for these other guys that feel like they're faster than some of these guys that, you know, maybe they just couldn't get the right lane to get by him during that first run. Now they're trying to work by them, saying, okay, I got this restart, I'm on their outside, I'm going to hold it, I'm going to try to force the issue here and see if they yield and give me the spot. And for the most part, looks like we're single file and people are being nice to each other.
Which is always a very short-lived thing. Well, I mean, Darlington kind of goes akin to like a Dover. It's a track that it could be a complete cluster that is 100% behind the pace car. Or you could see a Darlington race go completely clean, because once you do spread out and everyone kind of just turns into survival mode, these things really can have a long green flag flare. Of course, with these Xfinity emulation rules here, we will have stages that kind of break it up here. So the longest stint we're really going to have mathematically, Jeffrey, we're going to be 57 laps. So not even a full fuel run here, but with the way the stages intervene.
Yeah, and like you said, not a fuel run. I don't think you're going to see anybody pitting in any of these stages unless we get caution periods. So you're not going to have a lot of area for pit strategy with a track like this. You know, tomorrow night with a full length race, what we'll have, you'll see a lot more strategy during these runs to be able to try to leapfrog. You know, you pit 1-2 laps before somebody, you're going to gain probably 3 to 4 or 5 seconds on the track. So, you know, tire wear not too much of a deal until you get into that 15 to 20 lap range. So these guys are going to be working hard all race long. You know, probably going to pit at the cautions, but like I said, not going to be pitting under green anytime soon.
Yeah, there's absolutely no way, even with the massive tire wear and fall off, there's no way that you'd be able to overcome the green flag delta here of making a pit stop here. Well, these guys are just there's a stew waiting to cook here off of turn number 2. You can see Jedi Jason Taylor in the orange mobile, but I don't quite have a throwback tied to. He's battling with Lucas Abreu there, who's battling to the inside. And then just behind that, you can see some guys falafeling around. I think that's Clifton Cockrell, who was working his way back up, but dropping back here. That's Sean O'Brien Jr. in the very bright number 24 ride.
And, you know, like you said, working your way up, working your way back. We got some cars that have made up almost 9-10 spots here tonight from where they started, and you got a couple that have dropped 9, 10, 11, 12 spots off the grid. So this is a track where qualifying is one thing, and getting in that rhythm we were talking about earlier is a completely different deal. So you might have been able to qualify up there at the top 10. If you don't get in that rhythm, it's not going to matter.
Once you get in that rhythm, once you can learn how to push that car right against the fence, you know where it's going to bite, you can read the tires instantaneously and know that All right, now I got to give it a little bit more space. Now I'm sliding a little bit more. Now I've lost a little bit more of that grip. I got to give myself a little bit more buffer. Once you can kind of ride on that edge, it's lights out here. And John Delaney trying to do John Delaney things, which is dominate these races. And perhaps Gitter has used up a little bit too much of the good. And now Delaney starting to claw into that gap. Now he's at that 2/10 bubble, which... Can he break the bubble? I mean, Darlington's a very big aero push track. Not really much room to evade and get some clean air. Very difficult here right through the center of the corners where it gets very one line. But Delaney able to push through and get a decent run off of 2.
Yeah, like we said, it's such a tough track to pass at that you can catch somebody, you know, being 2-3 car lengths faster or, you know, tenths faster per lap. If you can't time that that jump perfectly, you're not going to get there. And I think the easiest place to pass in this track right now, especially this early in the race, is probably getting into turn 1. You know, if you're able to get that good run off of 4 down the front straightaway and show your nose into 1 this early, most likely that leader's probably going to go. We got a lot of racing left, 100-something laps to go. I'm going to give it to him. I'll try to get it back later. And these two are obviously, you know, 2 seconds ahead of the next car, so there's no reason for them to be getting rough with each other at this point, I would say.
In terms of lap times, which are the left side of your display, you can see they're both running in the 7s. Bruno Mello in the 9, so almost a 10th and a half, and then going all the way back there, you can look at P12, fastest car on track, none other than Mr. Piss Excellence and all the other things he says that boast his talent. Finds himself fastest car on the track, but he has 11 fast cars to navigate around.
Yeah, and that's, like you said, you can be the fastest car. It doesn't matter. If you're that far back in the field right now...
Oh! Trouble, Wayne Grassi. Wayne Grassi and Dalton Mobley, but the green flag stays a-waving. Go back on replay quickly and check that out, because that was all sorts of a mess.
Yeah, looks like Wayne might have gotten a little bit of help there. Just
from Jeff Burton, 64. Of all people, Darren Mullen. But I mean, Jeff Burton, he doesn't wreck people this era. Apparently, he does.
And it looks like Wayne possibly going to bring that car to pit road. Looks like he has some significant damage. So. Tough deal for Wayne because he started up there in the top 5, and
it's a Pennzoil car
really
crashing. A Pennzoil car crashing in Darlington. I mean, Steve Park was out for quite some time here after a Busch Series wreck in 2001. Freak wreck on the back straightaway here as his car just abruptly turned left under yellow, and someone who was trying to catch up a lapper just really could not foresee it at all and just T-boned him into oblivion there, and one of Steve Park's many injuries that he sustained in his career.
Yeah, and it's a tough deal there because if you're Wayne, you know, yeah, it's early in the race. You know, he had more than enough room there going in the corner, gave the other guy a decent amount of room there, and like you said, how the tires are going to grip is really up to them going into turn 1. So you can feel like they're going to stick and you're going to drive it in there deep, and if they slide up, then the other guy's pretty much at your mercy. And right there, Wayne Grassi back on track, but I think a couple laps down here, 1 lap down right now, and right ahead of the leaders.
I'll ask you this, Jeffrey, just because back in my day, which my day when it comes to iRacing was basically the Gen 6 tire model that ended in about 2020. One of the biggest things you would do here at Darlington, predominantly in turn 1, is you would clip that apron. You dive down low right on the corner here, and I'll bring on board here and kind of show what I'm talking about here. Right to the inside here. You drive right on the apron, a little bit below where Gitter just went, and then you'd start your corner from there. You don't seem to want to do that in these next-gen cars.
No, and this car, similar to what you're saying, when I used to be good, and by good I don't mean amazing, but good at Darlington, it was that package where you would have that high horsepower and you would drive down to turn 1, full bore, clip the apron a little bit, and then go almost back full throttle right up to the outside wall, and and really push your car hard. This tire model, this car right now, it really favors the person who kind of babies it a little bit more into turn one, doesn't really overload that right front tire too much. If you start burning that right front out by driving it deep into the corner like you and me at least are used to, it just kills that right front, overheats it, and by you getting halfway into a run, you got no tire left, and you're dropping like a rock if you're not hitting the wall.
Yeah, it seems like you have to drive this car as straight as possible, and I don't think that's too far-fetched from real life with the lack of side force, and if you get too much yaw, the car just doesn't have enough aero abilities to keep itself straight, so you really have to drive the car straight, which, when that's not how you're used to driving the car for 10-15 years, just kind of takes some acclimating to, and when you're an elder statesman like me, in the metaphorical terms, it just gets a little bit harder. And a lot of times you'll see, like even in the Coke series, you'll see a Ray Alfala, and he's very open about it, that he's used to driving the car a certain way, and now that this new package makes you drive it a different way, it just doesn't suit, certain styles. I know we're kind of getting off track here, but it's kind of relevant information.
Yeah, and the ones that are able to adapt and get used to how that car drives they are the ones that end up in the better spots. And John Delaney, we've seen him in all matter of cars, all matter of packages. He's still able to get the job done, but right now falling off a little bit from Getter as we come to about 5 to go in the stage.
Yeah, I think he maybe used in the Rusty Wallace line, he used his Dr. Feelgoods there. He wore the Feelgood off, so they're not feeling good, they're feeling just okay. Well, I guess if we
got a car on the wall in turn one. I think it might be the 41. Taylor up in the fence. Tough deal for him.
Those oranges, I think he is making some fresh squeezed juice. I'll quickly go on replay and see what happened. Oh, there was some help involved in this endeavor. 35 car, Ed Foster, taking a look to the inside. And that is where a little bit of Darlington etiquette would have benefited both of them. Much more so Jason Taylor there.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, it's just that case of who's gonna blink first. And it looked like neither one wanted to blink. And, Taylor just on the bad end of it right there. Gets up in the fence and heavy damage on the right front.
What's the old famous call? All right, who's going to lift? Nobody! And in the wall goes Bush. Because if you didn't lift, someone, more often than not, is going to be in the wall.
Especially at this track. And as much as this is not a short track, I will tell you, tempers will flare by the end of tonight. It's just, people get very upset, especially if they feel like they are the faster car than someone. If they don't feel like they're getting the room that they deserve based on their speed, they'll start getting aggressive on the radio, telling them, coming on the radio going, hey guy, I just caught you from X amount of back. Just give me the spot, lay over. It's one spot. Just give it to me.
Particularly when lap traffic gets into play, which given the length of the stages here, I don't think is going to be a chronic issue. Of course, we had that caution there, but we come to the end of the stage here, and we're about 7-8 seconds from lapping anybody. That's in about 25 laps. So, but we are coming to take lap 45, so that would be the white flag for the stage.
Yep, and like you said, Getter has been leading this thing from the green flag. Delaney right there in second. Those two have been mainstays in the top two so far. Like you said, it might just be a case where Delaney running so close to Getter for all those laps just kind of overcooked his tires, but that's something to put in the booth here. When we get caution period in a second, you can come down pit road, you make some changes, and hope that you can keep up with him the next run.
All right, and that is our stage winner, followed by second, Bruno Mello, third. A big gap here. Now we're going to be waiting for Kevin Steele. He is in the 10th place, and he will just now cross the stripe. Caution should be coming out momentarily, right on cue. And that, folks, is our stage one.
Yep, and like we said, Getter in the first spot, Delaney, Mello, Stein, Desiani, Paget, Cook, Benefield, Abreu, and Steele. Good run for Kevin Steele up there in 10th place.
So this will be the first of the 4 sets of tires for these guys to change here, as I think we are trying to catch up to Barney and his Mustang. Oh, or the Mustang today, so clearly must have been waiting on an oil change there. A little bit slow out of the pits there, but we will catch up on the back straightaway. And I think these guys will be lucky, Jeffrey, that we don't have green flag stops here, because I had a green flag stop here that I was not prepared for, and this is the most, we talked about it with Dover, but I'm going to put this above Dover, toughest pit road in NASCAR.
Yeah, you see how they turn right down there. You go from a very, very wide, probably 10 to 12 car length gap to about 3 or maybe 4 car lengths when that yellow line comes up for the speed limit. So under green, especially on old tires, it's tough. Under caution on old tires, honestly, can be tough as you're trying to get all you can. So these guys, lucky, like you said, under caution, only have to pit, and everybody coming down pit road here.
Heard Larry Mack talking in some pre-race this morning, well, this afternoon rather, and he said, when it comes to pits at Darlington, you don't, if the crew chief says he's taking 2 tires, basically you're firing the crew chief. It's going to be 4 tires every single time round here. At the Darlington Raceway, so very, very seldom, unless it's straight after a repave, is that ever going to be a viable strategy. And Pat Gitter will get it done, as I think I've used that pun about 87,000 times this year. And he will retain the lead. Delaney in second, Bruno Mello in third. Now, I would pull some people into the booth here, but we do have an abbreviated radio audience here. Our frequency, we don't get the full frequency list here on Friday nights as they do on Saturdays, so we'll see if we can queue up somebody of note later in tonight's efforts here. But again, stage 1 goes to Gitter. Only have the 1 caution for cause, and again, I think it kind of leads us down that road, Jeffrey, that as I was saying, Darlington can go one of 2 ways. It could be a cluster or it can run green, and I think we're going in the latter direction here tonight.
Yeah, like you said, it's once he gets single file for the most part, or if we do get contact as we saw in that first stage, it doesn't always key into a caution just because of how much banking there is here. There's a lot of room for people to catch that car, so if there's contact going into turn 1, most likely they're going to catch themselves and they're going to go into the wall, and they're not going to spin back down or get collected by any other cars. Since we would go so single file. So we'll see here on this restart. I think a lot of these guys that feel like they know what they have, Adam Benefield's going to be up there in the 8th spot, it looks like now. He knows that he has a fast hot rod there. Kevin Steele up from 26th on the starting grid tonight. He'll be restarting 9th. These guys that know they have cars that can possibly contend with the top 3 or 4 there, they're going to be trying to make as much hay as they can when these fresh tires hit the pavement in a few laps.
Take advantage of those tires, because as we saw, once you take the lead, even if you're a 10th or 2 slower, like Gitter may be in reference to Delaney, once you kind of get to that point where the tires even out, he ends up having that run and can pull away using the arrow to his advantage. And just for note for future viewers here, of course we are here every Friday night here. Of course there was a race. Last week was an anomaly, but next week we are off as it is All-Star Week in real life. Of course the Real World guys headed to North Carolina for the North Wilkesboro Speedway for the first sanctioned race there in 27 years. Place looks absolutely gorgeous. Lord knows what the budget ended up being on that track. So D2 guys will be off that weekend, and all of us can enjoy the reality, and whether you're in person or at the watching it on TV at North Wilkesboro next week. But getting ready for a restart here. Gitter choosing that outside lane once more. Delaney to his inside. Delaney couldn't get a good timing on it last time. Maybe he's learned a little bit something, or maybe Gitter's going to try something different and throw him off once more. Let's see what happens here. Coming off a 4. Pace car's already in. Gitter in the command position and turn the restart zone, and he's going to go right at the beginning of it. Green flag, and it looks like he's going to pull DeCunha for second.
Yeah, great restart for both the outside cars right there. I know those guys work together. Not sure if they kind of gave a little bit of a hang sandal to help them get going, but we got
Stein there. Tight quarters.
They are all over each other for fourth.
Yeah, Stein put himself in the middle of a sandwich between Mello and that is, who is that 60 car? Corey Cook. And Cook will go to the inside there, try to evade Stein there off of the corner. He'll go back single file entering one, and looky, he's 7th spot. Adam Benefield, he's got himself in, you know, from the 20 some odd position. We talked to him at about 15, 16, talked about him then. And here he is. He didn't quite get to the top 10 in the stage. That's usually what happens, but very close to it.
Yeah, and like we were saying earlier, you know, we were talking about tire wear. We're talking about fresh tires, old tires, how much they really matter for these guys. One of the main things that we talk about here at Darlington every year we go here is tire wear. Tire wear tread-wise this week has been significant, I would say, in my experiences. But time fall off, if you can manage those tires a good amount, hasn't been much. You know, most of these times you go to Darlington, you're feeling 2-3 seconds over a full run. This week we're only seeing maybe a second and a quarter based on that first stage. So you can go a little bit harder early here if you want to, and for some guys it's going to hurt them, and for some guys that like a Getter or like a Delaney that first run, they were able to really manage their stuff and they're only falling off a second. So you know, some of these guys are going to start a little bit slower and have some more long run pace, and obviously Pat Getter is on his own planet up there in the lead trying to drive away again from these guys.
He is doing that. He's going to pull away. Now he has DeCunha in second, and we don't know what he has for speed. I mean, the closer you get to the front, the less dirty air you do contend with. And he, let's see where, as refresher, where his day began in the 12th spot. So a net gain of 10 for DeCunha. So he had some really dirty air back there in the teens, and now he's in second. So now he has a lot less dirty air. So that 0-4 ride must be driving a lot better. And we'll see indeed if it drives better enough that he can take Mike Skinner out of victory lane, which everybody did in his Cup Series career. Of course, the only light of day Mike Skinner ever had was Atlanta. No, he won at Motegi in 1998. And then, of course, he had the 2000 Cracker Barrel 500 wrapped up till he blew a motor with 19 laps to go, giving it to Dale Earnhardt in that thriller over Labonte.
You're getting all the fun stats out for us
I'm
tonight.
old, man. Throwback night's the only time that being old is actually a good thing.
Throwback for me is the mid-20s, 2000s. That's what throwback is for me. So
that's
some of these
fine.
schemes a little bit better for you. Some of these schemes a little bit better for me. You know, Jeff Gordon, drive to end 100. That's a throwback in my age right now.
Standing right next to me here. I was watching. So that scheme. I think he started running drive to end hunger. I already forgot that was Mobley.
I was back there in the early 2010s.
I think it was 2011 because I remember he won at Phoenix in that car. I think it was the last Phoenix race on the old configuration he won in that car over Kyle Busch. Got to give him a little bit of a bump in turn 3 and 4, or what is now what is now 1 and 2. Give him a bump there, but yeah, I think my NASCAR knowledge, my history bank, if you will, goes back to probably like 97 with detail, 94 loosely. Again, age brings a big factor into that.
Well, one thing I want to see if we can get a view of here. If we can go to the inside cam of maybe John Delaney sitting there in third. We were talking about tire wear and fall off earlier. One thing that these guys talked about, and Denny Hamlin's been very vocal about, is the shifting and downshifting and upshifting. And I don't know. I know Getter was doing it there at the end of the run. Let's watch a few laps here and see if Delaney's shifting.
I heard some of it with some other drivers, but I know that you can kind of use it in traffic a lot more. Of course, the graphic will give us all of the display we need there. You can both see on the tack and on the bottom graphic there. Let's see if he goes into 5th for a brief moment. Yep. And then right back down to 4th. Takes it down to 6,800. I mean, you could almost think about 3rd there, I guess, if you really wanted to be ballsy with it.
And like I said, these guys, this current gear package that we're stuck with, we're not stuck with a gear package. So unlike real life NASCAR where they get a mandated gear that they have to run, we don't have that. We can run whatever gear we want every track. So some of these guys could have showed up with a setup that's running just 4th gear. Some could have showed up with a car that for short run you'll have to shift up into 5th, but you know, 15 into the run you start just running 4th. I think Getter for the majority of that first run was shifting in both turns.
Yeah,
so
he took it to 5th on the front, and we did not see Delaney doing that.
Right, so if you run a little bit more top end there, you're gonna have to shift up into 5th. You don't want that over tacking of the engine, but oh, and it looks like we have some trouble. Oh, Yarborough with trouble again. Yeah, looks like Cody Cully there on the outside. It's just one of those things we were talking about earlier, that Darlington etiquette. If that's me in that position, if I'm that 112 on the outside, I'm probably lifting and giving us both a little bit better chance. But well, as we discussed earlier with tires and how many these guys have and when you're going to want to take them, we have our first caution during a decent stage run right there, about 15 to 18 laps, I think, on that run right there, since we finished the first stage at 45. And we have some cars that pitted and some that stayed out. Patrick Getter, he was the leader. We'll restart, I'd say probably about 10th or 11th, it looks like now, after that pit stop. So we're now going to see that real difference of tire wear. Does it matter that much? You know, 15 on these tires, you're going to have about 20 probably to go when we get the green. Is he going to be able to work his way back up? It's going to be interesting.
Now, the other drivers, I may have been muted. I mean, you probably heard me talking, but stream, if you heard a big pause, I have been, just full transparency, going through massive allergies right now, and I'm literally muting and unmuting myself every 30 seconds, so I think I forgot to unmute myself for about a good 30 seconds there if there was a brief pause. But to the point that was made, John Delaney, you just saw there that 12th spot is where we find Gitter right now. And John Delaney, 18 lap tires, so he should, Gitter, should absolutely mutilate his way through this field. Worth noting as well that, not Jared Bundy, it was Cody Colley, which is a new name for us. Days of Thunder there, if memory serves. A 6.4 second stop, so I would assume, is that fuel only? I don't even think you could take two tires. Actually, I guess maybe you could take 2 tires in this new world, right?
I think he might have just taken a quick repair there, as he was part of that accident, but
nope,
his car looked clean, so
nope, no repair.
I don't know. Maybe he did just top off, not sure why you would. But
that is one thing in iRacing that has, you know, I guess one thing of many that has yet to be updated, is the pit stop times have not been updated to their real world counterparts. I mean, we've seen 4 tire stops pushing 10 seconds now. I think William Byron's team, they took 4 tires in under 10 seconds once this season. I thought I saw a stat. But we're still doing 14, 15 seconds time, so, I mean, iRacing got to get on that. But so if 2 tires, I would estimate it's probably about 9 seconds. So a 6-second stop, I would just imagine he's topping the tank off, which again, kind of interesting call. But, you know, I'm not a good crew chief. I know you do it more than I do, but everyone has a different strategy. You never know how it works out until it works out. But let's see what happens here. Off of turn number 2, pace car lights are off, and we're going to go green with 22 to go in the stage.
Yeah, like we said, we got Adam at Battlefield now. Finally up there in a really good spot for him in third on that bottom lane. See if he can get anything on this restart. We got Paget up there, who definitely loves this racetrack. I've talked to him this week. He loves the track. He loves how consistent and smooth you have to be. So let's see what these guys can do on this restart.
And while we do that, we are going to go quiet on the mics and have some temporarily loud engines. The curse of temporarily loud engines becomes afoot again as we are under the caution flag. And did you have any...
Oh, wow. Tanner Marty. He's been involved in a couple tonight, and that is going to be his last one.
Oh!
Get her involved as well, and that new damage model on effect right there.
But hey... Hold the phone there. He ended up getting his hood. He got his front clip back.
Those tethers are really strong, I heard, nowadays.
Magnetic tethers they are. See, I think he got the fence there. That was Gitter. Sent him around. There goes his front clip. And through the Inspector Gadget magic, it came back.
Yeah, so right now, you know, Getter car looks clean right now. But the only tough thing for him right now is you don't want these caution laps. You want more green flag laps, because the more caution laps you have, the less time you have to try to gain back your spots. Obviously for him, not too worried about points in this series. He's more worried about tomorrow night on Saturdays, but could be seeing a little bit of guessing right now for him, seeing is it worth pitting at this point tomorrow night if we end up having that chance. And luckily he doesn't get any contact or significant contact out of the wreck, but like I said, he's going to restart 11th again, and we're probably only going to have about 15 before we have the end of the stage.
Yep, so again, most drivers have already used one set on the lap 45 stage caution, and then about a split bag, maybe I'd say 2/3 of the field ended up pitting on the last caution, which means that's their second set. Now, the guys who pit on the last caution, you would presume they're going to come down again for the stage, which leaves them one more set of tires for the last stage, which, I mean, in all fairness, it's a 50-some-odd lap run, 57 laps. Even if it goes green, you're still fine. I guess the only, for the guys that stay out, they're just going to have 2 sets to play with in that last stage, which, depending on the cost of the situation, could come into play or could be a moot point. Just depends how these guys want to battle.
Yeah, and like you said, right now it matters. Right now, I think once we get the wave around or the lucky dog there, I think we're going to have 19, maybe 20 on the lead lap. So it's still amount of, you know, considering how tough it is to pass here, even though the tires are going to quote-unquote matter, as we only said about a second and a half and fall off, you're not going to have a lot of time to move your way through the field. If there's a restart with 15 to go and you're restarting 20th, good luck trying to get back to the top 10, because it's just going to be way too tough, I think.
It will very much indeed. But while we are on a break here, Do have a couple channel partners here well, not channel partners, league partners here that help put on these D2 broadcasts. And let's go do a video side-by-side break and show you one of them.
Whether you are new to iRacing or a veteran, we all have the same goal: to go fast. Stint Analyzer is a tool that helps you collect data from iRacing sessions to compare lap times with others. Hot laps are one thing, but comparing yourself with others over a stint is what really matters. You can compare a stint one-on-one, graph lap times from multiple drivers, export data to Excel, compare setups and tire wear. It also has a spotter mode and allows you to quickly review your incidents in a session. Also included is some simple overlays to help you plan out your pit strategy and compare one stint to another. And last, but not least, but it also has built-in Discord integration to allow you to share data and race updates. Download Stint Analyzer at stintanalyzer.com.
And we're back here getting ready for a restart here after that little break by Stint Analyzer, of iRacing third-party app that you can download that gives you a whole bunch of different information to help you grow as a driver, get faster, give better strategy, and a whole bunch of other fun stuff that can help you and get the competitive edge. So you can check them out there. The link's in the description, but the pace car is already in. Delaney leads it from the outside lane. He's going to get on that loud pedal. He's going to pull a huge gap on Corey Cook off the get-go as we get back up to racing.
Yep, and Benefield right in tow in third, Paget in fourth. These guys up front trying to get single file, trying to work their way up back, trying to stay with Delaney, and trying to keep these guys that they know are faster behind them. The more you race side by side, the more you're going to give opportunities for others to get by you.
Exactly that. You'll put yourself at risk, and you'll also lose time by running that much slower there. And Cook did not get off of 4 very well. Benefield's going to have the run to the inside. Darlington etiquette. What is that? They're going to race side by side, tight quarters racing through 1 and 2.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Like we said, that other incident earlier, you feel like you should give up the spot, but if you drive a little too hard, if you lift a little bit, is the guy behind you going to give you that, you know, a little bit of etiquette, or is he going to try to stuff his car in that spot that you open up when you lift? So obviously right there, a little bit of etiquette from both of them, lifting, getting out of the way, giving each other room. That's good to see up front, but we're not seeing that mid-pack right now.
This was not planned to talk about Stint Analyzer and then show the Stint Analyzer car. That is completely coincidental. I say that in all sincerity there, but there you are. StintAnalyzer.com for that app that we did show you on that commercial break there. But Benefield now has none other than John Delaney in his front windshield here at about a 0.4 of a second gap. Last time by running 0.3 of a second faster, and both of which were in clean air. Delaney having some issues off of turn number 2. That should bring that 83 a little bit closer. No, it's not, because Corey Cook going for the repass there on Benefield in 3, surprisingly.
Yeah, Cook brought a sporty car here tonight in that 60 Mobile. A lot of Chevys up front, though, I can see right now. A lot of Chevys. I think the top 7 or 8 right now look like Chevys. So I don't know if that's anything special or if that's just these guys have gotten some fast hot rods in those Camaros.
I mean, that is a sight to my eyes there, because I am a Chevy boy in a Chevy world. And yeah, first Ford. Back there, it is Alan Kowicki, aka Dave Fuge, in the 8th position. First non-Chevrolet power plant. Power plant. It's not a powered plant. Not one of those people. But look at Pat Gitter, first one on the fresh tires. He's up to 6. Kevin Steele next on his chopping block. That is for the. It'll actually be the 5th position, as a matter of fact. He's going to go to the inside in 3. Which it's very, very hard to make that inside lane work. I know it does work in real life. You can kind of run the flat, not so much here on the service, but those fresh tires allowing him to run that inside lane and to take that spot.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of these guys, if you're on better tires, like he is 16, 17 lap older, better tires right now, you might be able to make it stick down there, at least enough to slide up in front of the guy, but you just got to make sure that you have that room to slide up right there. Obviously, had a little bit of a checkup in front of him, but if you can dive bomb someone there, it's a great spot to get by somebody, I can tell you that.
Now they're going to be door-to-door entering turn 1. Again, let's see the etiquette. Oh, Paget gets the check mark. He realizes what's the better move.
Yeah, right there, a good amount of spot back to Steele. Lifts a little bit early going in the corner. Both of them gets through it, no problem, no harm done. And both continue on their way in the top 5.
And again, I want to reiterate, I'm not, when I say Darlington etiquette, I'm not asking, and I know you know what I'm saying, I'm saying it for the viewers. I'm not saying that every driver needs to race like a sissy and let him pass at all times, but what you have to do is you have to realize the moment and realize the situation and realize the track that you're on. If you know the corner that you're about to enter is very dangerous to run side by side in, do you really want to run side by side in it when you still have 100 or even 70, 80 laps to go? That's where you have to use the etiquette and say, is this the smartest thing to do for myself as well as my competition?
Right, and like you said, it's not what driver is better than the other, which one wants to put them up on the dash at that time of the race. It's just which one's going to use a little bit more brain at that point, in my opinion. It's, not saying anyone's stupid to race someone into the corner tough here. It's just,
I mean,
there's times to race hard and there's times not to. And Darlington, most of the time, it's not smart to race hard.
Yeah, but you can see right there that Cook realized, fresh tires, first of all, got him up to second now, but realized not to battle that. But to finish up that point, you could race side by side into one. You can do it. It's not a good idea most of the time, but you can do it. Just as much as I can go to Wendy's every day and order a double Baconator, I can do it. But if I do it, I'm probably going to die, and the same result turns over in sim at Darlington.
Yeah, unless you really have a lot of respect for the other person you're racing with, it's a tough deal. And, a lot of these guys in this league have raced with each other long enough, either in officials or in the league itself, that they know who can they really trust in those positions. Steele, Paget, Benefield, Getter, even Delaney. These guys have raced around each other for a long enough time that they know who's going to lift and who's not going to lift and who's going to give them that extra room. And that's a good thing to get. And I think as the season's gone on, we've seen a lot of these guys learn who's respectful and who they have to race a little bit more carefully around on track.
Exactly that. That's more of a problem. Not a problem with D2, but that is just one of the nuances of D2 is you'll see guys like Corey Cook. No one knows what he's like, but he's up here in third. But, sometimes, and especially in a league setting, when you're the new guy in a league setting, you kind of almost have to roll over and play dead a little bit. Just because you just want to show the guys, I'm not an idiot. I can drive. Get them to get on your good side, and then start battling a little tighter around them over time as here comes Gitter on those fresh tires.
Yeah, we were saying what were they going to matter, and if he was going to have the time. We're coming back to 4 to go in the stage here, and he is side by side with Delaney at the line, trying to take that lead back.
He's going to fall back in line, at least in the short term here. But I presume that he will get a whale of a run here off of turn number 2. You can see, actually, he didn't really get that great of a run there, surprisingly.
I think he's just trying. He's trying to work his way by him here cleanly. Maybe try to just set him up for that pass, and he keeps getting there.
Here he comes. He's got him this time. No, he doesn't.
That run off turn 4 is just so much on the outside that even though he's able to get to his door in the middle, he just cannot hold it. So he's trying to work on his stuff here. He's trying to figure out where is he going to make this run, if he can get this run. If not, you go to the next stage and you get him at the end of stage number 3 when the big money gets paid.
Adam Benefield losing some spots. Bruno Mello also on fresh tires just got by. Now Steele and Paget in his mirror. Steele with a big, huge wiggle there. Paget will get to his inside, as well as Nick Stein in the 82. Stein drives into the door of Steele. Is going to spin on the apron. caution does not, well, there it is.
Single car incident, mostly. Obviously the initial contact, but a great job holding it off the tracks, keeping it out of harm's way after the spin.
I mean, we caught most of it live, but just to rewatch it for the sake of why not. On board with him here, you can see he did the big dive off into one. He clipped the apron, which is what we said you used to do here at Darlington, but obviously it did not work out too favorably.
No, and like we said, one of the biggest parts of that, which we didn't talk about earlier, but I'm remembering about now with some of the setups I've had with this next gen car here, you have that diffuser on this car, and how much, you want to get all that downforce that you can get out of the car every racetrack you go to. And at a track like this where there's so much banking and so much of a difference of banking in both turns, if you have that car set up for that extra downforce and you drive down to turn one and that rear end's really low, if you go under that line, it's very possible that you could bottom out, and it's possible. That's what we saw right there. Stein maybe go down a little bit too low, rear end clips the track a little, and up the track he goes and spinning around in the cycle.
As Darlington, one of those very difficult tracks, not just obviously for a drive, but even for NASCAR, from a package perspective, because this track is a speedway. It's 1 1/3 miles. You're going 170 miles an hour, but also it has heavy braking. It just has a lot of nuances to it where you don't want to have a super aero dependent package here because there's not a lot of room to get around. So from a NASCAR perspective, like, you want to call this a speedway, but you don't want to call it a speedway at the same time, which leads to a lot of those aero related issues.
Yeah, and you want to be able to take out that downforce out of these cars, make those tires matter a lot more. And these guys are working their behinds off on the track, just trying to get as much speed as they can with as much grip as they can, and that's that balance. You want to go fast, but at the same time you want to have controllability over your car, and some of these guys are able to just manage that balance a little bit better.
Indeed the case, and we'll get as we talked about with our schedule, with North Wilkesboro All-Star Race being next week, we are off, and then we'll be back for the next round of coverage. Friday, May 26th, we'll be at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the longest Xfinity length race of the season, a 300-miler, so I don't think there's any longer ones that we'll be covering. And then after that, we head to Worldwide Technology Raceway, aka Gateway. Another week off, and then we head to the Nashville Super Speedway, another one of those tracks that kind of goes in that same category as this to an extent, where you want to call it a speedway, but it's kind of not at the same time. The 1 1/3 mile concrete D-shaped oval that'll be coming up soon here in the next coming month.
Yeah, it's definitely a couple tracks that are iffy. Depending on what type of driver you are. So, I personally like some of these coming tracks. Like you said, we're going to a track like Gateway where, similar to here, you're going to see a lot of shifting, especially down in turn one where it's such a low speed type of corner.
Yeah, Gateway is just this with no banking, more or less, just a little bit shorter.
Right, so it's... turn 1 and turn 3 here, you have that banking to catch you. Gateway, you don't. You're basically going in a turn, like turn 1 has banking, but not even close to what you have here.
It's a hairpin with banking, and then you have a flat sweeper. And then, of course, Nashville, just being the concrete track, you just drive it completely differently given the nature of concrete. And then just to add insult to injury, we have a build coming up in about 3 weeks on iRacing, so who knows what changes will be coming about. I know the Oval Series will be getting a bunch of changes probably at the end of the year. Dirt will be the biggest feature on iRacing, as well as some road tracks and content, but we'll see what the next gen car brings and what kind of changes these guys will have to acclimate themselves to. But that is all talking amongst the future, as we have stage 3 on our hands and what I have now renamed as this track is Hard 200. John Delaney will take the reins from the outside lane. Gitter will have to get the jump he can to the inside. Going to enter that not activated but semi-used restart zone here at Darlington. What's Delaney going to do? He's going to get on the loud pedal right there. Can Gitter clear for second. Mello's going to try to get to his outside there, but nope, Gitter is going to clear for second.
Yep, and we'll see now a little bit of catch, cat and mouse game going on for these two up front, because the first part of this race, you had the opposite. You had Gitter as the leader, Delaney in second, trying to chase him down. We're going to see now, I think, who has the better car. Was it track position, or was it the car itself?
Wayne Grassi, remember, he has qualified very well, involved in a very early wreck, had to use his fast repair. He's got himself back in contention now. He's kind of stuck behind a gaggle of vehicles there. Nick Stein, I wonder if he had to use a fast repair. Let's check the statistics and look. No, he did not. And he may need to, because I think he was just in the wall once more. Wayne Grassi with a very quick aversion there. But let's kind of summarize things here, because remember, we do have only 50-something laps to go. I cannot do that kind of math with these odd numbers here. We have some of these guys that have one set of tires on the wall. We have some of these guys that have two sets of tires on the wall. Everybody, to my knowledge, can drive this thing out on fuel, as Dave Fuge kept that. Did he? Oh, did he? He did. I mean, it's almost a bad thing that he did, because now he's going to be dead last and well off the pace with some overheated Goodyears. Let's take a look at the replay. He was already loose. Stein had no part of that. He was already loose and just kissed that inside wall there, but he had a really good car, but will be relinquished back to the 21st position. But to finish
great job, though.
To finish the point I was saying, we have some guys on two sets of tires left. Some guys have one set of tire left. We have full fuel to make to the end. I'm almost 100% on that. So what does the guys with two sets, do they want a multitude of cautions, or I mean, what's the mindset, do you think, of with those Goodyears on the wall? What do you want the remainder of this race to entail?
Well, if I have two sets left, I think you want to put these other guys basically in a what did we call it, a Pearson position. From Richard a couple weeks ago. You want to have a caution with probably 40 to go, because if you get a caution with in the next 10 or 11 laps, you come down, you have two sets, you come down, you take one of them, and then it goes green to the end. I think you're going to be in a really good spot, where these other guys are going to have to make that choice of, it's 40 to go, it's 35 to go, do I want to take that last set yet? After seeing Pat Gitter go from 12th or 13th to the lead, or almost to the lead of that last stage. So if you have two sets left, I say you want a caution within the next 10 laps. If you have one set left, you either don't want a caution, or you want it to be within that last 15 laps where everybody's going to come down no matter what, and you won't lose any track position.
Yeah, because like a caution right now, for example, 10 laps in the run, the guys with two sets, they would come into the pits. The guys with one set, they would stay out most likely, and then just pray for another caution. But as you said, pull the Pearson. If you put the sets of tires on early and it goes green, it's your race until lappers decide to wreck each other at the very end, as that race did end in that direction. But big conga line of vehicles there from second on back. Gitter not really getting anything done. Staying about a half second, if anything, dropping a little bit to Delaney. Corey Cook, fabulous run by the newbie. Staying there in third, on pure pace at this point. No tire strategy at all. Bruno Mello, get another one, pure pace. Has that number 78 car in a very, very favorable position. And of course, Adam Benefield rounding out our top five.
Yeah, and I think with only about 45 to go here, I think we're going to take another second to thank another one of our league sponsors tonight for the D2 series, Souza Media, which, as you said a couple weeks ago, we've had a written report now for Souza Media. Great social media company, helps out with a bunch of different types of companies. It doesn't matter what you sell, what you want to sponsor on, if you want to sponsor tracks, if you want to sponsor any type of programs, you call Souza Media. They will get you hooked up with different types of packages, Facebook, websites, online store fronts, Twitter, anything that you want to make your website or your company shine bright on the websites, on the interwebs. They will help you do that, and there's a bunch of great people over there that work weekly. You know, last week they were up in New Hampshire working hard. This week they're at Stafford Springs Speedway, so they do a bunch of stuff in racing, but they also do local small business work as well as so if you want to get some your local business help, call up Souza Media, go on their Facebook page down in the description and check them out down below.
Of course, thanks to all the partners who do help these broadcasts come to air here within the series. And well, this is an unexpected turn of events. Corey Cook taking a stab here, Pat Gitter for second.
And he's trying his best here. I don't know if Getter's too happy about it. He's probably sitting here going, hey man, I'm trying to take care of my stuff. I want to just try to get here to the point where I was beating Delaney by a tenth or two the last run, and Corey's not letting him do that.
He's got Dale up on his. What's worse than the back bumper than seeing a black number 60 car? And that's actually getting Gitter, getting him up on his game, because here he goes, pulling up and making a side-by-side attempt for the lead here off of 4. Can he pull the quarter panel? Can't quite do it. Delaney will hang on for now. And then Cook going, and almost a little bit of a block by Gitter entering 1.
Yeah, we're cranking down the laps here. You know, 40 to go this time by. These guys are going to be that etiquette we talked about, the respect. I think it's going to start going lower and lower as we get through these last 30 laps or so. These guys are going to look for every spot they can get, every opening they can get. If you have to lift a little bit, don't be surprised if somebody stuffs their nose in there. So, like we said, Getter was a lot faster than Delaney, or at least a good amount faster than Delaney at the end of that first stage, once we got about 30 on the tires. I don't know if that's going to happen with how hard Getter's pushing now. He's trying to hold off Cook, and Delaney's kind of just going, okay, you guys want to race each other? I'm fine saving my stuff out front.
So we are right now 17 laps in to our stint now, as denoted by the graphic here. It's 18 laps in, and we have just had 38 to go. So 18, about 57 laps, 56 laps, couple of those under yellow. So as we said, full fuel to the end is not a concern. Tires is doable to the end, even if not ideal. I don't think anybody wants to go 55 laps on a set of tires, but get a huge dive there from Cook, and he managed to clear. I think Gitter may have thought better of a move at that point. Didn't want to stay side by side and open up the door for Benefield, so he's going to let that 60 go and see if he can make something happen with our race leader and D1 champion.
Yeah, and this is the tough spot right now for Getter, because he knows the car he has, or at least had in that first stage. I'm not sure if he made any changes or not. It's just that track position that he lost. You know, he made Stein spinning on the front stretch. Again, single car incident and no caution. He kept it low enough.
Yeah, he's been one of the problem children here today. It's been just at about every replay I think we've had on screen here. Let's take a look at what happened. He just got loose by himself, clipped the apron there, and because it happened, because he had his little endeavor below the racing surface there, Barney the flagman doesn't care and keeps this race under green, and he will make a green flag pit stop. Probably for tires or to rage quit or something on those lines. But look at up front. Cook right to the back bumper of Delaney, and he is surging and trying to make a move.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these guys, like we said earlier, Cook, a newcomer to the series, so he's showing right now what he can bring to this series, and trying to give the, I don't know if he's going to give the bumper to Delaney, but he's definitely showing his might here and his strength.
Look at him. He sent it into 1 there, which makes you think that this is going to probably be a short-term move. Maybe it won't be, but it looks like to me, based on how hard he's driving it.
Yeah, and, you know, some of these guys might be in that perspective of, oh, there'll probably be a yellow later, so I'm going to get my spots.
He's trying to go around the outside.
He's trying everything, you know, in the wall.
Now, let's just, I want to, because I do have a little bit more back-end information that I can display. He is, John Delaney is a 6,700 rated driver on the iRacing official service. Corey Cook is a 3,300, so does that, I mean, we know what it means for, speed, it doesn't necessarily matter. They can probably both drive the same speed. But does that extra 3,400 for Delaney mean that he knows what this car is going to do later in a run, and he's using that to his advantage?
You know, I had a nice conversation with someone last week on Facebook about this, and, you know, they said, oh, you know, how much does iRating matter? Go. And it's one of those things of, it doesn't matter your iRating, in my opinion, if you have the talent and if you have the ability. You know, a lot of these guys that we have in this league, at least, they don't run a lot of officials, and you don't gain iRating from running league races. You only gain iRating from running officials. So if you don't run a lot of officials, then it doesn't matter what your iRating is if you can still show up on a race day. And, you know, there's a couple guys on my team that, like you're saying, this big gap. Oh, you know, I have 2,000 more than them or something like that. And then when you actually look at, you know, us in practice or something, our lap times will be almost dead on over 30, 40 lap runs. So I think consistency and smoothness of the wheel favors into that iRating gap a little bit, and looks like Corey might have used up those feel goods, as you were saying.
So, I mean, I hate to use puns, but Corey cooked his tires there.
Oh boy.
Yeah, gotta do it. Yeah, to finish up that point, I mean, when it comes to iRacing and iRating, drivers who are league-based, and you know, I run a league on Tuesdays, and the league admin hasn't run an official race in over 10 years. So it's just you don't have a paper trail of skill. I guess that may be the best way to word it. As Corey, what's his name? Nick Pressey there in the 94. You got no place at Darlington to get out of the way, so he just goes on the flat and had a little wiggle there, but he'll get by just fine. Another little Darlington tidbit story. Why is the groove at Darlington so small? Because this wasn't supposed to be the racing groove. This was supposed to be a banking to keep cars from flying off into the minnow pond and into the abyss. They were supposed to run all the way down on the flat, which is why you actually see a yellow line down there, because that is supposed to be the groove until someone decided, hey, if I run up there, it goes a lot faster. And then naturally we have what we have.
And as you're saying, you know, we're talking about smoothness and consistency and speed. Top three: Delaney, Getter, Benefield. People that we're used to seeing up front. You know, these guys normally week per week, if it's Friday night, if it's Saturday night, it doesn't matter. These three cars are usually in that battle at the end of the race. And if not with each other, with another group of small cars from Saturday night. But, you know, Bruno Mello in that 78, he's been up front in a good amount of these D2 races again, too. So trying to get another top 5 finish here at Darlington.
I believe the lap graph up once more. We'll see what it is at the stripe this time by between our top three, who are basically under a blanket right now. A flat for Delaney, a couple hundreds faster for Gitter, and then a 9 flat for Benefield. So he is the fastest of the three, but being a 10th faster at Darlington, it's not like out of Kansas where you can just change lanes and go around a different way. A 10th faster here may not be enough to actually complete the pass without a mistake by somebody.
Right, when you talk about lanes, you see it right there going into turn 3. These guys are going anywhere they can to try to find a little bit of clean air. Down in turn 1, you won't really see that. That lane is pretty pronounced, but in turn 3, these guys are entering, you know, a quarter car length below you and then a quarter car length below me, just to try to get as much clean air on the nose and get as much of a turn and rotation through the center of 3 and 4.
All these different strategies at play. Benefield trying to use that inside lane, get a little bit clean air on the nose, and while the sun appears to have dissipated here at Darlington, and this track is under now full cloud cover, maybe a little bit more grip to work with here. I'll check our track temps here. I think we saw 103, 104, back to 96 here So definitely some more grip on offer, but still not a ton, but more than we had earlier. And we've elapsed about an hour and a half there on the virtual clock.
Right, and you know, this far into the run now, something that we're seeing a little bit more of is that shifting. Downshifting, upshifting for these leaders. And as someone who had, for the most part, been an auto clutch type of person, you know, not really having a blip throttle, not having to use that clutch pedal. For me, this week has been pretty difficult just to try to get used to having to blip throttle, especially in 3 and 4.
Hold the phone here. Benefield keeping it in 5th the whole way around. Is that an attempt to save the rear tires, or is there some fuel saving going on?
So that was my next point about the shifting. One, yeah, obviously you're going to save a little bit of fuel not shifting, but 2, a little bit lower RPMs means you're not using up those rear tires as much. So if you have a car that's handling a little bit ill, especially with that rear end, you know, you want to keep it in 5th gear. I did a couple runs this week where one run I would downshift and one run I would run 5th gear, and the 5th gear run was the best run I had. So right now, if you're behind somebody and you're trying to get clean air and trying to get runs on them, you're probably wanting a downshift to get a little bit more of a oomph coming off the corner. But some of these guys, they're trying all different type of things right now, try to beat that number 6 car.
Yep, and we'll just finish off the endeavor here by following our race leader, getting his telemetry around the Darlington Raceway. See about 2 or 3 different strategies at play. He kept it in 4th gear down the duration of the front straightaway, all through 1 and 2. Getting that bite down the hill off of 2. Benefield seeming to fall off here. And Benefield, Delaney will pop it into 5th for probably about 2 seconds there as he puts it back down to 4th to navigate turns 3 and 4 here. So a bunch of strategies at play. And 36 laps into 37 laps into the stint, 20 to go here at the Darlington Raceway. So again, 57 laps. I don't think that that's any concern. I think they can go probably easily 65, 70 here. But you know, this is going to be the longest on tires for anybody. So we'll really get to see who is going to have the best Goodyears, who saved them the best, who has that best long run car, unless of course Barney decides to interrupt the flow of this race.
Yeah, we got some close battles right here for 10th position, it looks like. Wayne Grassi, like we said, you know, we thought he was going to be out of this race earlier after some damage he got. So to be able to be in this position, trying to race for a top 10 after his issues so far is huge. So this Biagla 5 cars racing all up there for 10th position. They know what that top 10's worth. They know what it looks like on the stat line. So a little bit of damage never hurt anybody here at Darlington.
Must have been the cheapest shipping package there for Damaris, because that postal service package is very much dented there, but currently running at 13.
Yeah, we're seeing here, you know, Delaney consistency the last couple laps. A little bit faster than everybody else. But like you said, that thing is...
I have never seen a nose punched in like that before on iRacing. That is new. Like, literally, it literally looks like he just got speared right there. I've never seen that kind of deformation there. There's no damage model, so that is interesting, even if nothing else.
Yeah, you know, if... I don't want to say it because I don't think it happened, but honestly, it looks like he might have just drove head on into the pit barrels. I know he didn't. I'm not saying he did. I'm just saying that's kind of what it looks like. It looks like he just went nose on into him.
I'd be so disappointed if I missed that, because I got to do that little Manamana joke at Talladega when he spun himself into the fence under caution, and I would love a chance to do it again, but I'm not going to spare us going through the replay for 5 years trying to figure out what happened to him.
Yeah, like I said, this is a tough track, and any type of damage, I think, especially on your front end there, especially if these guys are shifting, that can really hurt you, because if you're shifting and you have front end damage and it's hurting your cooling, a little bit of damage can do a lot to your temps. So these guys, you know, they're
Traffic
working their
right in front of the
best.
leaders. Into the wall is Harville there by getting around Pressy. Delaney's going to have to go around the outside. That's super sketchy. But even doing so, surprisingly, it didn't even slow him up that much. I thought that would have pulled Gitter right to his back bumper, but still holds basically the same lead.
Yeah, and they got lucky there. That's what you call that, lucky. That's more of that etiquette kind of deal there, where you're the lapped car. What lane do you pick? What lane does the leader want? If they don't key up or you don't have an idea of where they want to go, especially in 3 and 4, it's going to be easy to mess them up. And I think Benefield on the radio not too happy about that whole deal there. You lost a lot of time to the front two.
In fairness, they were both for position. Actually, no, they weren't even for position, I don't think, because Pressy's 2 laps down, Harville's 1 lap down. So that literally was not even for position. But it did cost a few tenths. Gitter ended up getting 2 tenths or so in the bank there, but has already since lost it as he's back down to half second. Adam Benefield now a second and a half back, so he's going to need some new Dr. Feelgoods to have any chance at the rest of this race. And really, the rest of the car is on track. Everyone else is pretty spaced out. This is the closest battle on track right now, other than up front. He's talked about his scheme a few times here tonight. Dalton Mobley in the 13 car, looking to get surpassed by Charles Eaton, but he is on fresher tires. So everyone's pretty much minding their P's and Q's here. Cody Cawley in the 112 took a stab there at Padgett, was too far back to do anything with it.
Yeah, and like you said, this is the point of that run where you're going to see who might have abused their tires just a little too much, and who has stuff left. You know, Delaney a 23, Getter a 44, you have Benefield at a 53, Mello at a 42. So you got some of these fast cars that are running basically in the 30.4s, and then you have some guys that are almost off into the 31 flats. So half a second almost difference on the field if you don't count Delaney, because as of right now, it looks like he might be kindly driving away from the field.
Well, you got some guys right now that are just saying, let's get this thing over with, as 41 will slow up Delaney a little bit. I think that may have been a crinkle of damage there on the back straightaway, but nothing that should have any lasting effect, but maybe just a couple pixels out of place. But you got some guys here right now that are saying, let's just get this thing over with. I'm struggling. I don't like this track. I don't like this setup. Let's get this over with. And then you got the other guys who are saying that excitedly, which is a John Delaney. He wants this over with because he just wants to win the race. But then you have probably a fair audience who says, please, I see a water bottle. I see something. Let me have a caution so I can get some 4 fresh tires and try to battle this on a short run to the end. And I think that is basically the last dying wish right now for Gitter and Benefield.
Yeah, that's definitely all the only chance they have at this point to get Delaney, other than him having an issue on track where we're under green still. But I just think once we get to this part of this run, you know, even if we get a caution, the restarts have been so important for some of these guys that if you're able to get out front as the leader, if we do get a caution, I just don't know if anybody else is going to be. I think the leaders had just such command on every single restart tonight.
Yeah, especially without those Geico restart zones being activated. I mean, I will say, most of the leaders here tonight haven't really cheesed the restarts as much as you can here at Darlington. Because Darlington, if you really want to cheese it, you can basically fire off from, to be honest, right around this point where the Darlington logo on the 34 wall, and you can use basically the last quarter of the track as a restart zone. But most of these guys are being fared starting right in the realistic area. But if it was a little bit tighter of a zone, you know, there's a better chance that we could have these closer restarts. But, you know, it boils down to the fact that the leader has control, and the leader should have the lead entering turn 1 most of the time, and that's really just how it's been working out.
Yeah, from my experience here in races and watching races here, I don't even know how many people would want to go in the corner as the leader. I think a lot of these guys know it's safer to just wait till the straightaway, just because of how the banking is, and if you're trying to shift and your high RPMs, the chance of issue occurring coming off turn 4 compared to just on the start finish line itself is very high. So we got some people out here still having some issues on the radio, but so far Delaney calming himself down. Might have had a little bit of contact somewhere on the field, but we stay green.
Grassi and Paget were at very close quarters racing, and they still are, as Paget's in the fence. That'll open up the door for Grassi to make the pass to the inside. No counter move able to be made by Paget, so that will move Grassi into the 10th spot, so he'll presumably salvage top 10 out of this after a race that had a lot higher expectations based on his qualifying efforts here. But coming to 3 laps to go, lead 1 1/4 seconds over Gitter. Benefield down by 3, pretty much spaced out by either 2 to 3 seconds between cars here as we navigate through the remainder of lead lap vehicles.
Yeah, right now, big wiggle off the corner for Delaney, but able to keep somewhat pace up. Thank God he's got that big lead, I would say.
Yep, you have the buffer at this point. We see it many a time where guys have a huge lead and they still keep at it 100% because that's just what their rhythm is. But at this point, you could keep it a lane off the wall, you could back off, you could hit the gas a half second later, you could save it, or you could still run it a millimeter off the fence and pray, as Delaney seems to still be doing.
Yeah, in a track like this, the second you start trying to back off a little bit and try to take it a little bit easier is probably going to be when you get in the wall, because you're not used to it. You're used to hitting every lap.
Whoa!
Or hitting the wall, I guess, right now for Delaney, but you're so used to hitting that corner the same way so many laps in a row that as soon as you change that up a little bit, now your throttle time's a little bit off. So I think if you're Delaney right now, though, I'm probably really taking it easy. You got 1 lap to go here. There's nothing to lose.
He only has about a half a mile left to go, and he basically pounded the fence, got some actual visual damage there, but didn't lose enough of a lead for it to be significant. He's going to have the best practice of all heading into Saturday's race, because he's going to enter the pre-race in D1, or rather D2, with a victory here. John Delaney wins the Darlington 200 for the 100% D2 series, with Gitter and Benefield rounding out our top 3 here. Nice clean race here at Darlington. Our race recap that we never really had to bring up. Well, that's not right.
Well, there is 0 laps to go. That is true. We are done here tonight. Mello in 4th position, Steele in 5th after coming from the rear of the field. Desiani 6th, Cook, O'Brien in 8th, Cully in 9th, and Wayne Grassi, after a great recovery, will round out our top 10.
Yep, that is our finishing order. We'll see what Delaney has in store, and he will burn it down here on the front straightaway. Very, very short burnout of sorts. I think he's saving the engine for tomorrow night. So let's go up to the top of the booth here and give you the final rundown of results here today from the Darlington Raceway. John Delaney with that win by 1.16 seconds, final gap over Pat Gitter. Second place, you find, well, just him, Adam Benefield in 3rd. Bruno Mello, another top 5 run. He's going to finish 4th here on the evening. Kevin Steele in 5th. And then we have Matt Disiani in 6th. Corey Cook dropped all the way back to 7th after he was going for the lead there for a brief moment. Sean O'Brien, Cody Colley, and then Wayne Grassi round out the top 10.
11th, Dalton Mobley. Mark Paget dropped back to 12th late. Thomas O'Hara back there in 13th. Few rounds in 14th after his issues. Damaris Hickenbottom 15th. DL Lemon, after some early issues, will round his car in 16th. Clifton Cockrell got the last lucky dog of the night, will finish 17th. Corey Harville 18th. Charles Eaton 19th. And Edward Foster in 20th.
And then rounding out our list of drivers here on the evening, Jason Jedi Taylor back to 21st. Nick Pressey had a difficult day, 22nd. Nick Stein, I think he called himself in chat a hack. He is in 23rd. Jared Bundy, 24th. Tanner Marty, Darren Mullins, Lucas Abreu, and Dan Lawallen round out the list of drivers here at the Darlington Raceway. We'll head right down to Victory Circle and talk to our race winner, John Delaney. John, you did a lot of things right here today. Once you got that clean air by Gitter, it seemed like the race changed hands and worked in your favor, and then pulled away there on that super long stage 3 run. Just kind of sum up your race for me, man.
Yeah, Dirty Air was really bad. When I was trying to catch Gitter there for the end of stage 1, I just had nothing for him. Burned up the tires trying to get to his bumper, and then when I was there, I just couldn't make it run on him. So I knew we had to do something to try and get the clean air from him. He pitted during stage 2. I stayed out. We were able to keep the lead from him. Pretty much from there on out, we were just smooth sailing, trying to save tires there at the end while trying to maintain the lead, and we were able to do that and pull it off the victory.
Yeah, and of course tomorrow night you get the best practice of all, because you got to do double the distance here tomorrow night. And Darlington, probably one of the best tracks, I think, to do the double duties, because you don't just learn the setup changes you need to make. You get yourself in a rhythm, and you kind of learn the nuances of the track and the car. So what kind of confidence does it give you, knowing what the track's going to do and knowing exactly how hard you can push it before you get that Darlington stripe?
Oh yeah, it's huge to just get any little bit of practice in like race wise. So this track's already really hard enough, so the more practice you can get in and figure out where the limits of the car before you actually go out there, and for the race that counts, it's very crucial to understand. So I learned a lot from tonight. I'm gonna carry that over to tomorrow, and hopefully we can get the win tomorrow night.
All right, well, thanks for having a chat with us. Congrats again on the win, and we'll wish you luck in tomorrow night's race.
Thank you.
And now we have second place. Jeff has caught up with Pat Gitter.
Hey, Pat, it's Jeff up here in the booth. You got me?
10-4.
Well, Pat, we talked to you last week, I think, talking about how fast you were on these D2 nights and on Saturday nights. Tonight, obviously, started from the pole position, led a bunch and won that first stage, but after pitting in the second stage there, just was not able to get back past Delaney. From your perspective here, tell us how you feel the track was tonight and how Dirty Air really affected you.
Yeah, man, Darlington's tough. It's always a challenge to pass. Dirty Air was big. Stage 2 pit didn't work out. I was hoping I was going to be able to get ahead of Delaney before he came in at the end of the stage, and got up to him and just couldn't make a move. And then that kind of set it up the rest of the race. Being in Dirty Air, that was a challenge to navigate, and just couldn't get it to work out, man. Delaney was fast all race, so props to him.
Right, and like we were talking about during the broadcast, Delaney has always been really, really good here, consistency-wise, and one of the things we talked about was the wheel, holding the wheel really smooth and taking care of tires and driving just on the edge of driving the wall down. And one of the things we saw from you tonight was, even though you had to go to the back multiple times because of tires or just trying different strategies out, what did you think you learned tonight after making that move early and making your way almost back up to the stage win? How much of that do you think you're going to go into tomorrow night thinking maybe I should do that, or maybe we need some changes if we do that tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's all going to come down to qualifying tomorrow, honestly. I think I just can't say until we see what qualifying looks like, because track position is just, it's so huge here, and I think guys that might expect to qualify top 5, if something happens, they end up at the back of the pack, you might see some things change. So I think that'll be a big part of it.
Right, well, we appreciate you joining up here in the booth tonight, and we wish you the best tomorrow night in the 100% Cup Series double distance from tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Just want to shout out EPI for the set tonight, man. It was a heck of a set. It's been great all week. Martin PC and C12 Design Shop, and then of course you guys for the broadcast. Appreciate it.
Sounds good. Thank you, Pat.
Yes, sir.
And now we've got third place here. Well, Adam, the last to first challenge, it works quite a bit for you here in D2, but tonight you couldn't quite get the last couple there. A Dirty Air and traffic definitely hindered you a little bit. What was it like in that Martin PC vehicle here tonight?
Dirty air. We had dirty air.
So the air was not clean, is I think what we're inferring, right?
No, air was purified perfectly for my car. Crew chief Michael Conti screwed up on the pit box. He put the qualifying adjustments in, so it's 100% on him. Basically, John Delaney got lucky tonight. That's all I got to say.
Well, I guess the better thing to look forward to is tomorrow night, because you have 200 laps to omit any mistakes made by the crew chief. But the driver, we know the driver has all the talent. We know the car is pretty good. I guess if the crew chief makes the right calls. So how much confidence you got running it on the fence 400 miles and making those strategy calls? You feel like you learned enough tonight to, cross those T's for tomorrow?
Well, the great philosopher Little Wayne once said, confidence is a stain you can't wipe off. So, yeah, we're dialed. We're dialed. Be ready to keep your eye on the 83 machine. We plan on shaking babies and slapping tails.
Well, I don't even know where the broadcast is tomorrow, to be honest, but wherever it is, I guess we'll have to stay tuned to watch that story unfold, Adam. I'll let you go, man, but congrats on a solid run.
Thanks, man.
What even was that?
Entertainment. That's what that was right there. And we can never say that you will never have a lack of entertainment from Adam when he is in the booth. I'll say that.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, anyways, that's a broadcast here on PTR. That just completely threw me off my game there. But that's a broadcast here on PTR TV. Of course, want to thank Jeff for tuning in and helping me out with the calls here tonight. You can stay tuned to, I think, BR TV for the coverage of tomorrow night's race. I haven't got affirmation on that, so I'm going to assume so. You can stay tuned to PTR TV for Monday with SSRL right here at Darlington. Thursday night, Red Sox Racing League. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time on Friday for D2 coverage. But that's Corey and Jeff signing out of the booth. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.